Hangout, where we have an opportunity to pool our knowledge and learn from each other. My name is Jackie Nagel, and I'm going to be your presenter today. And if we can figure this all out, we will have people joining me in the green room. And if you're on the call and you would like to join me in the green room, please let me know. There is a question and answer. Oh, I'm just opening it up. Bear with me. You can submit any questions that you have on the right side of your screen at the very bottom. There's somebody joining us. Debbie Buxton has joined us. Actually, Deb is my virtual assistant, has been working with me for 17 years, so I make her come with me wherever I am. So thanks, Deb. She's going to help direct some of our questions for today. So, Deb, do you want to take a second and introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Deb Buxton, and as Jackie said, I'm a virtual assistant, and I've been with Jackie forever. That's about it.
And she has been a tremendous help for me in growing my company. So, again, if you would like to join us in the green room, please let me know by the question and answer panel, and we'll make sure that we get you invited, okay? So I am going to I've got a screen share for you, and hang on just a second. I'm new to this technology as far as Google+, but I will do my best with Debbie's help to make this a great presentation for you. So today, in the next 30 minutes, we want to talk about the 6 steps to energize your small business growth. There was a study that was done recently that talked about the fact that 85% of entrepreneurs spend less than an hour a month in strategic thinking and planning time, which is really interesting because that is certainly our experience with our clients as well. And what's really unfortunate is that when it comes to business growth, not taking the time to do making strategic thinking and planning a priority has a tendency to leave some missing pieces in the business growth cycle that creates a lot of businesses to struggle unnecessarily. So when we're talking about the 6 steps to energize your business growth today, it really is about our own personal experience of working with entrepreneurs since 1997 to help them to grow their business. So how many of you can relate to this? It's really much more about talks to all the hats that we wear as entrepreneurs, not really necessarily that we're all having a bad hair day, although I've been known to have some of those and don a cap here and there. But today's entrepreneur really does wear a number of hats. And if you'll remember, if any of you are familiar with Michael Gerber, several years ago he wrote a book called The E-Myth. And in that he talked about the 3 people that go, or the 3 personalities that go into business with us. The first one is the entrepreneur, which is the person who does the strategic vision and planning. The manager, who implements the plan and achieve results through others. And then the technician that actually performs the actual work of the business. Unfortunately, for many of us, what we have a tendency to do is we spend much too much time in our role as a technician. And therefore, the manager and the entrepreneur are left to their own demise, if you will, in the event that when it comes to, or let me just back up and say what happens with many times with the entrepreneur and the manager is their roles are left to the end of the day. And anyone who's run a business knows what happens at the end of the day. There's too much work to do. There's not enough daylight left in the day. And obviously the roles of the entrepreneur and the manager have a tendency to get left in the shuffle. So these are the 6 steps, and I'll go through each one of them step by step for you that we're going to be talking about. But we're going to be talking, first of all, it's about planning for growth. The second one is developing strategies to grow your business. Then we are going to look at some metrics, the map quest of business growth. We're going to talk briefly about prioritizing your strategic actions, and then filling your sales funnel, and finally showing you the money, which is really what it's all about, right? That's the reason why we're in business. So there really is a new norm for small businesses. On the left, we have what growth used to look like, although that's really not as accurate, but you get the picture. And on the right, we have what growth looks like today. It's really become much more convoluted, if you will, and less clear because of some of the trends that we're seeing happening in the economy. Not only is there the uncertainty, but there's customer customization, there's the sales transformation. There are a lot of trends that are occurring that are impacting the way a business grows. So the first thing and the most important thing for a business to have is actually a plan or a goal for growth. There was a book that was written in the year 2000 by two UCLA professors, Eric Flamholtz and Yvonne Randall. The book is referenced at the bottom of the slide, and it's called Growing Pains. And in the book, they outline some of the most common growth rates that, were available or that they were seeing in companies. Interestingly, when they made a note about the growth rate of less than 15% annually, they didn't have too much to say about it in their book. But what's interesting when you look at a 15% annual growth rate, or at least at that time, 15% growth annually over a period of 5 years will actually cause a company to double. So it's certainly nothing to sneeze at. 15 to 25% annually is considered rapid growth. 20 to 50% is very rapid. 50 to 100 is hyper growth, and then after that you get light speed growth. And it's really important to kind of pace your growth because a company can literally choke on its own growth if it's growing too fast. Now, what's interesting is since 2008, and again, I just want to remind you that this book was written in 2000, but in 2008, when we had the economic upheaval, all bets were off as far as what it would take, what kind of a growth rate a small business would need to really do well in this economy. And what we're really seeing right now is that small businesses need to maintain a growth rate of 20 to 30% annually in order to come away relatively unscathed from whatever the economy throws at you. So regardless of the growth rate that you decide for your business, number one, I think the most important thing to remember is definitely have a goal for growth. Have a rate by which you will set as the pace for your company to grow. The second step to energizing your business is having a strategy to grow your business. And again, this has been a real common missing piece for a lot of small business owners. When you pull a small business owner and you say, well, what is your strategy for growth? Sometimes they say, well, I'm just going to work harder, or I'm going to cross my fingers and hope strategy. And although those are two very common strategies, they're not two that we recommend. So when you are selecting a strategy for growth, obviously you want to pick a strategy that's based on your level of risk and the pace at which you want to grow. But the first one is market penetration. And that's used by probably 50% of all small business owners. And basically what that means is that it's about selling more product to your current clients. The second one is market development. Again, very common, 21% of entrepreneurs choose this strategy to grow their business. And this is about expanding products into new markets. The third one, and probably the one that most entrepreneurs and small business owners are most comfortable with, is product development, because that's about developing new product for existing clients. But there's a word of caution here in that you don't ever want to get too comfortable with the notion of product development as a strategy, because it does in fact require new skills, and it also requires systems in order for it to be successful. And then the fourth common growth strategy is diversification. When I think of diversification, I think of Apple. Apple certainly was a disruptor in their industry, and the diversification strategy carries with it the greatest amount of risk because it's about developing new products for new markets. So it's Apple, it's Amazon, certainly a lot of the technology companies that we see today that are really disrupting the marketplace. So those are your primary strategies for growth. Again, you know, the key is whatever it is that you choose, whichever, just have a strategy. That's one of the most important things. Okay, the next one is the MapQuest of business growth. That's actually tracking your business growth. And the reason that this is so important is because some entrepreneurs feel like they're losing when they are actually winning, but they don't know it because they're not following and tracking their metrics. Or the other case can be true where they feel like they're winning when they're actually losing. I often think of Joey Tribbiani and his in the famous 30-minute comedy that we all knew. I think it was in the 80s or 90s, Friends, when he would come in and he'd always say, "How you doing?" And that's really the question that we should all be asking ourselves about our business. You know, how you doing? So that it's really the only way that we will know the health of our business, and that is to take the pulse of the business through the metrics. Now, needless to say, there's tons of things that you can measure. They're in the financial arena. You can measure revenue and profit, net profit, gross margin, cash flow, receivable days outstanding. In the marketing area, you can measure your website visits, visit-to-lead ratio, email open and click-through rates, sales, number of leads, lead to proposal or to proposal to close ratio, sales per employee. Clients, you can measure cost of acquisition, lifetime value, new versus returning clients. If you're in any type of production like printing, you can actually look at spoilage or rework percentage. There's so many different metrics that you can track that you actually do have to be a little bit careful so you don't overdo it, because your business is really not about, unless you're in big data, your business really isn't about measuring as its core competency. But you do want to select the metrics that are most closely tied to your vision, your mission, and your goals. And at the very least, you want to be able to track those on a monthly basis, and they will give you tremendous insight into where you should put your efforts. And I just want to tell you a really quick story of the importance of metrics. I recently had a client who wanted to redo her website, and I know for any of you who is on the call with us that is in the web design business, you're probably going, "Whoo-hoo, absolutely, let her redo her website." And so I asked her if we could take a look at her analytics before she actually made that decision. And what we discovered from her analytics is that there were several tactics that she could, marketing tactics that she could try to drive more traffic to her website before she totally scrubbed the whole website and started all over. So as she has started that, interestingly enough, she started to get much better results. This is not to say that she won't at some day in the near future redo the website, but at least it gives her a starting point. The problem was, it wasn't that the website wasn't working, it was some of the marketing tactics to drive traffic to the website that weren't working. So understanding metrics and the role that they play gives you a tremendous amount of insight. Okay, step 4 in energizing your business growth. I was just going to take a little bit of a pause here, a timeout, if you will, to see if we have some questions that I can answer for you. And I do see, is it Rob has the question about, yes, do you think these 4 strategies can be used for tiny businesses as well? Absolutely, Rob. I think it's really important that a small business have a growth strategy. It allows the small business owner to really have the focus that they need. I think we'd all agree that being an entrepreneur and a solopreneur and a small business owner can be extremely overwhelming. So anything that we can do to help to focus our efforts is going to be of benefit to our business. Okay, Deb, do you see any other questions there?
I don't. I think we're good.
Oh, yeah. But Rob, you bring up another good point about the 15% growth. Rob writes, good point about the 15% growth, meaning it will double in a few years. Silicon Valley has gotten us to thinking about the hockey stick growth is what we should all aspire to. And it's really true, isn't it, Rob? Because then we all think, what's wrong with us? We're not growing at the same pace as Facebook and Google, so we must be doing something incredibly wrong. And that certainly is not the case. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Okay, back to our slide. So prioritizing our strategic actions. That's a huge one, isn't it? The interesting thing about for entrepreneurs, as we all know, is we have 1,000,001 things to do in the course of a day. So generally speaking, most business owners get up, they start making out a list of all the things that they have to do, and again, they immediately jump into their role as a technician. By the end of the day, it's questionable whether or not a lot of those things that they had on their list of things to do actually will move the company forward. It's the difference between to achieve and to accomplish. To accomplish means that it's really about doing. You're just doing things. You're getting things done. That does not necessarily mean, however, that your business is going to move forward. To achieve, though, does address the issue of we're moving forward and we're taking some steps and making some advancement. So to prioritize our strategic actions, we need to learn to manage our goals, not our time. And this is kind of a challenge for some of us who are a product of the industrial age when it was all about time management. But today, all bets are off with that because of technology. So we need to learn how to prioritize our strategic and our entrepreneurial skills. Oops, sorry, went the wrong direction. I must have just gotten real crazy here with this. Okay, so there are 3 things that we need to prioritize in the course of the day, and that's strategic thinking, planning, and implementation. One of the most valued skills for entrepreneurs today is the strategic thinking skill and the strategic planning skill, yet only 3 out of every 10 entrepreneurs will actually take the time to apply that skill. And that does create big gaps in our growth. So when we're talking about managing our goals, not our time, we actually developed a tool several years ago. It's called a daily goal planner. And if you go to our website and at www, and you'll see this at the end, but www.synovatia, synovatia.com, and you go to the blog and search for Daily Goal Planner. You can download the Daily Goal Planner. We realize that for some of us who have been around for a while, that we've gotten into this habit of managing our time rather than our goals. So we needed to have a tool to help us change our thinking. It's like crossing, when you're used to crossing your right leg over your left, it's learning how to cross your left leg over your right. And so instead of starting the day with what do I have on my list of things to do, the Daily Goal Planner helps you to think about and document what are my long-range goals, then what are my short-term goals, and what are the 3 most important activities that I have to do today that will advance my goals. And then you create your to-do list. So it's a little bit of a change in thinking for you to help you make business growth more of a priority. Okay, the fifth step then in energizing your business growth is to fill your sales funnel. Once you've done the strategic planning and prioritizing and implementation, and you have the goal set and you have your strategy in place, you not only need more leads, most anyway, entrepreneurs, not only need more leads, but they need more of the right kind of leads. And this is extremely challenging for small business owners for several reasons. Number one, marketing messages today can easily get lost in the buzz of all the marketing messages, the crowded marketplace that's there. Secondly, again, when you think about how much time you spend in each role as a technician, a manager, and an entrepreneur in your business, there's a lot of time that's spent in your business as a technician and as a manager. And so, needless to say, it doesn't leave a lot of time available for marketing your business at the level in which that it needs to be marketed. So we recommend using less time-intensive ways of marketing. And I'm sure you've probably heard of the term inbound marketing strategy, and that uses more of a pull technology rather than a push technology. So it's the difference between going to a networking event versus attracting people to your website, for instance, would be one example. And when you are able to establish or build in this inbound marketing approach in your business, it's like using your website to act as a salesperson 24/7 for your business. So it makes a huge difference in how much time you have to invest in generating leads to fill your sales funnel. Now, there are two things that are really important when you think about filling your sales funnel in this day and age. The first thing is building your buyer persona. That and a buyer persona is a fictional depiction of your actual ideal client. It kind of reminds me of the whole Build-A-Bear concept. You know, I have a goddaughter who is 7 years old, and if she had a bear and she asked me, she said, "Jackie, can you find my bear for me?" And I say, "Which one is it?" And she says, "It's the brown one." And I look to my right and I see a great big pile of brown bears. It's going to be really tough to find that bear. And sometimes filling your sales funnel and finding your ideal client is a lot like that today. And with the Build-A-Bear concept, the Build-A-Bear the bear would have like a yellow vest and maybe pink glasses and wear roller skates and have on a little plaid skirt. Certainly adding those details to the bear would help me to find that bear much more quickly. And it's the same thing for you in your business, in being able to create this character, this fictional character of what you want your buyer persona to look like. Not only look like, but you will know them so well that you know what they're reading, you know the words that they use to describe their problems, their challenges. You know them almost as well as they, if not better, than they know themselves. And so therefore it makes it so much easier because your marketing messages can be really targeted to speak directly to your persona. Once you have your persona created, the second thing you want to do is guide them through the buyer's journey. And I always like to say, take them on a journey, not a wild ride. There are 3 stages in the buyer's journey. The first is awareness, and I'm sure many of you know that they're now, I think the most recent statistics that I saw is that 97% of all research is done online even before somebody buys a product locally. So obviously having an online presence is really, really important. And then the other statistic I saw recently is that most people will read through 10 or 11 pages of information before they start the buying cycle. Isn't that amazing? So when you think about the traditional websites are generally positioned as really a decision stage, we need to start thinking a little bit different. And the first stage, the awareness stage, that's when the client or the potential client, they know they have a problem, but they can't quite even name it yet. So by providing blogs or ebooks or tools like that, videos that help them in identifying and putting a name to their dilemma or the opportunity that they're experiencing, then helps them to make that transition into the consideration stage. It's at this point now they know what this is called, so now they're starting to look for a solution, and they do their research accordingly. The third stage then is the decision stage, and one of the best tools at a decision stage is a trial offer or a free consultation or something along that line that gives them an opportunity to compare your product or service to the other one's product or service. But it's important to have information on your website that addresses all three of these stages of the buyer's journey. Okay, finally, number 6, show me the money. This is, interestingly, probably why a lot of us are in business, although we love what we do as well. There was a study that was done in the Business Journal in 2010 that said that non-employee businesses made on an average of $43,000 a year. Granted, that was in 2010, and it was grading on the curve. But, you know, frankly, I think we have to do a whole lot better than that as entrepreneurs. So, few things that we recommend, including making sure you have the right pricing strategies in place, is creating a budget with sales projections so that you're not running your business by the seat of your pants. You know exactly what it is that you're targeting. The second one, and this is especially true for service companies, is billing for your time. One of the biggest challenges that I find for small business owners and entrepreneurs is they give away a ton of their time, whether it's because they're hoping to get the deal, you know, and attract the client, and they think by giving it away they will be more enticing to the client, or whether it is that sometimes I hear people, small business owners, go, well, I feel sorry for them, you know, they don't have a big budget. But unfortunately, we can't use those reasons to pay our bills, right, to pay our suppliers. So one of the ideas that you might want to try if you feel like you give away a lot of your time and you really have a hard time breaking out of that is start to track all the time that you give away and then put a value on it. You might be really surprised at how much money you're losing each and every week. It can be literally thousands of dollars that your business is losing. So make sure you bill for your time. The third one is to say no to work that pays less than you require. And the reason for this, I know that saying yes to work that pays less than you require, that your business requires for overhead, definitely gives you cash flow. But when you're saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So when you're saying yes to work that pays less than you require, you're also saying no to work that is going to pay you, in fact, what your business requires. So you really want to be very careful with that. When I was, prior to starting Synovatia, I spent several years in sales training. There was a concept that we taught that still, to me, to this day, is still really important, and it's about value versus price. And you picture the consumer with two buttons in their head. One says value, the other says price. And when the value is great enough, price is not an objection. So think of what your pricing strategy is, and if your prices are in line with the market, then look at how you can better articulate the value that you bring to the marketplace so that the client or the potential client can really see that the price that they're getting or that you're asking is really a fair price. But trying to compete on both value and price is a no-win situation. Okay, so there we have the 6 steps. Plan for growth, strategies to grow, track your growth, prioritize your growth, fill your sales funnel, and be keep yourself in fiscal integrity. So let's take a second here and go back over to questions. So let's see. Hassan asked about, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, what are some of the tools you see to help with the metrics? I actually use Google Analytics, and I use a marketing software that really gives me a lot of information and data for my business. But if you don't have access to software to help you with your tracking your metrics, a great tool to use is an Excel spreadsheet, and to identify the metrics that you want to track, and then start to use that as a way of tracking every month. And that way too, it makes it really easy because you can see the trends. Debbie, have you found any other software or any other tools that have been helpful for tracking?
It depends. I mean, like if you've got a WordPress site, besides Google Analytics, there are some other built-in kind of programs that you can add as plugins to WordPress to help with your SEO and all of that tracking too. Google Analytics, the nice thing about it is it gives you so much more in one spot. You can, about your website and anybody coming into it. But otherwise, yeah, I think Excel spreadsheet and really kind of trying to figure out what you want to track usually is the best bet.
Yeah, the other thing too that I find is, again, depending on, analytics is going to give you your marketing metrics, but also looking at if you're using any type of financial software, QuickBooks or Quicken will help you to track your financial reports. I know every year I almost have to have my accountant reteach me what it means, a balance sheet and cash flow and all of that. So, make sure that you understand what those tools that you have available, what they mean. So I hope that helps, Hassan. We can probably find some other tools for you based on what kind of metrics that you want to track. So if you want to ping me on my profile afterwards or on the site, then we can do some little bantering offline about that. Rob also asked a really good question on billing for time. But what he's finding is some people these days are expecting third world rates for first world efforts. And he asked the question, is there any way around this? And I do really feel very strongly, Rob, that two things. Your buyer persona, get really clear about who your buyer persona is. And then as difficult as it is, say no to some of the lesser paid work, or the work that is below your pay grade, if you will. I know it's really tough. I've had difficulty doing it. Other people that I've worked with had difficulty doing it. But once you start, you'd be amazed at how many people will, in fact, engage you regardless of your pricing because they are actually looking for value. So give that a try and see if that doesn't help. Okay, Sarah asks, oh, here we go. Rob also says that a stat counter is really nice for tracking metrics. So thanks for that, Rob. We'll take a look at that. Sarah asks, how do you narrow it down when you're targeting a very broad demographic? For instance, I'm targeting small business owners, and it's difficult to come up with a buyer persona for such a broad market. Absolutely, I would agree with you, Sarah. So ask yourself, the small business owner, what do they generally make? What is their revenue? Do they own a house? Do they rent a house? Are they married? Are they single? Are they male or female? Do they have kids? What are the biggest challenges that they have during the course of a day? What keeps them awake at night? What magazines do they like to read? What type of information are they searching for online? Start to do a little bit of research. You can even start with some of your own ideal clients, your own best clients, and people that you really love working with, and start asking them these questions to have greater insight into what it is that makes them tick and what it is that they're looking for. We have a buyer persona worksheet which we can post for you, And I'd be happy to share that with you too, Sarah, to help you to narrow it down. I would say it's not an easy task, but it's extremely important in order for you to be able to get traction in your business and grow more quickly. All right, so we're past our 30 minutes. Whew, I got to take a deep breath here. But I just want to close with a quick story. Oops, sorry about that. Let me just go back. Oh, I'm too fast on my... There we go. So this is about saying heck yeah to growing your business. And this was an article that I read a couple of years ago by a gentleman, an entrepreneur by the name of Derek Sivers. I think that's how you pronounce his name, S-I-V-E-R-S. And he changed the complete outlook of his business by changing the way he said yes. And I'm sure we can all experience, we've all had this experience of entrepreneurs. You're sitting in front of your vendor. You're talking to someone that you're looking to hire. And you ask them all these questions, and they're kind of okay. They're not ideally what you're looking for, but you know, you can't seem to find who it is that the ideal person just hasn't popped up yet. So what we end up doing is we go, say, a lukewarm, okay, we'll hire you, or we'll engage you, or the same thing would happen with an employee, or the same thing happens sometimes if you're launching a particular product. And what Derek realized that it made him miserable. Like if he hired somebody that he wasn't really excited about and couldn't really be enthusiastic about the kind of work that they could do together, he just finally started saying no. And because otherwise he was spending the majority of his time moaning and groaning about how unhappy he was, or how with this this individual that he in fact had actually hired. So he just decided he was going to say heck yeah. And if he was talking to an employee, or he was talking to a vendor, or there was an event that came up that he was reading about and he was thinking about whether or not he should go, if his answer wasn't heck yeah, then the answer was no. And I think that's really a good thing for all of us to remember as we're growing our business. So let me just click. If there's any questions you have, certainly by all means give us a call or reach out to me. I'm happy to help in any way that I can. And I am going to, oh my gosh, turn that all upside down. So, and let's see, I think I have the screen share off. Do I, Deb?
You sure do.
Okay, great. So any other final questions before we leave today? If not, this video will be posted. I want to thank you all for being here. Deb, thank you for joining me. Thanks for those of you who had questions and such good comments. And I will look forward to seeing you all on our call on another Hangout in the near future, okay?
Thanks.
Have a great day now. Bye. Bye, Deb.